In terms of capability, you and I want to highlight one player real and this guy, man, I was thinking about it before we started the pod. You know, we were talking about how he helped lock down Erling Haaland in 3 games this season. Held him to an XG total over those 3 games of 0.28 XG. And I was thinking about it and I realized this guy also has a history of locking down the other best striker in the world, Harry Kane, right? There's that comp floating around of him just winning every single aerial duel against him and bullying him and knocking him to the ground. Um, and I'm talking about Gabriel, obviously, right? And, I think one of the things that's made this season very special is that Gabriel is finally starting to get his flowers. Maybe not in a widespread sort of way, but definitely within the Arsenal community. He's starting to get the recognition for just what an elite center back he is. And yeah, it's just been really impressive to watch him blossom. I think he's been the better of our 2 center backs over the course of this season. With all due respect to William Saliba, who I think is absolutely phenomenal as well, but Gabriel, I think, um, has been the more reliable of the two. I think he's in line for player of the season, if we're being quite honest. It's definitely between him and Rice, I would say at this point. Maybe Martin Odegaard has an outside shot. Um, so, I just want to turn this over to you and just kind of let you wax poetic for a second about just what an excellent player Gabriel has been this season and, frankly, over the course of his Arsenal career.
Yeah, absolutely. I think right from the time he joined Arsenal on his very first day, I remember we went away to Craven Cottage and he scored directly from a corner. And right from then, I thought this guy is really imposing. He's athletic. He has all the qualities that are needed to be a world class center back. He has everything. Then it's a case of consistency. It's a case of him keeping his head. Because initially in his Arsenal career, he was prone to losing the plot a bit. I remember he first got sent off against Southampton. It was where he had got booked. This was like November, December 2020, a very dark time to be an Arsenal fan then, where we were like 8 games without winning a league game. He used to lose the plot a bit. He got sent off. Even against City, he got sent off. He got wound up a bit, got the second yellow card. And initially, that was the frustration, I think, with the fan base that keep your calm, keep your head in the game, like apply yourself. Like you're way better than this. You can do better. And I think last season at the start, he had some issues where he was making some mistakes where I don't think it was a case of him lacking something which led to those errors. It was more, I guess, a lack of application in certain moments, which cost him like small moments. But I also think by nature, he's a very emotional player. So for Gabriel, it was a case of how he can marry his emotion, his passion with his ability. And I think that's been the biggest change for him since the World Cup last year. I think getting that snub and getting Bremer uh, taken to the World Cup over you must have been pretty humiliating for him because I thought it was a very bad decision from Brazil. And Brazil, they obviously got what they deserved in the end, going out of the World Cup pretty early. Um, I think they would have been a better team defensively with Gabriel. There's no doubt about it. But I think that sparked something in him, And he came, I remember right after the World Cup, we played home against West Ham. Right from that match, he's been a completely different player. He has been the Mr. Reliable. Like, it's been what, how many games since then? It's been like, it would have been half the season, so half of last season and 29 games this season. So it's been like now a run of like 48 games or something like this, right? And how many times in these 48 games we've been like, oh, Gabriel, he was poor today. He made this mistake. I cannot even think of one match where it's like, oh, Gabriel was so shaky today and could have cost us. No, he's been pretty much like faultless, to be honest. And if there's been a center back who's actually made a few mistakes, it's Saliba. And Saliba has been phenomenal, by the way. But if there's a guy who's made a few mistakes, it's his partner. Gabriel has been completely faultless, but he never gets the flowers that he deserves. And I don't know why that is. It seems to me a bit like how it was when Matip and Van Dijk were together. Like Van Dijk's obviously the best center back in the world, but Matip was doing an incredible job next to him. But people used to just attribute Matip's being really good to Van Dijk being next to him. But I actually think no, it was Matip also holding his own and showing how good he is. And I think it's similar for us. And I actually think Gabriel is the leader in our back line. And you can see it yesterday, the way he was getting into Haaland's head during the game, after the game. He also had a bit of beef with Ivan Toney against Brentford. But he did all of this without losing the plot. I go back to a few years where we had this guy, Gabriel Paulista. I remember Diego Costa going and choke slamming Koscielny on the ground. Gabriel Paulista goes, gets wound up, and ends up getting sent off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually used to like Arsenal centre backs being bullied, like over the last decade or so. Like, I'm a huge Koscielny fan. I think after Gabriel and Saliba, that he's the best centre back of the Emirates era, and he played a key role in Arsenal winning those FA Cups. But he used to get bullied. Like guys like Diego Costa used to go shove him. Let's see if there's a centre forward who can do that to Saliba and Gabriel. They won't, because look at how imposing they are. Like you cannot do it. Seeing them from the tunnel must be really daunting for the opposition. So Gabriel has been phenomenal. And one last thing I want to say, a lot of his football has been played with Zinchenko next to him. And Zinchenko made a lot of mistakes in recent matches, but even at times last season. A lot of times Zinchenko is not even there where a left back should be. You can say it's partly by instruction, but the fact is Gabriel has had so much ground to actually cover at times and defend big spaces. I remember against Aston Villa last season, there was the situation where Leon Bailey, he was finding so much space on that right-hand side. Time and again, he would find himself 1v1 against Gabriel, but Gabriel wouldn't come it. He would back off, really hold his own very well, and at the last second, sneak the ball away. Now, that is an art, and I think he's really established himself, I think, as one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League. And of course, as you mentioned, Arsenal fans give him the flowers, but I think the moment we win something, that his name is also going to go globally. And yeah, hopefully Brazil will never make the mistake of leaving him out of a squad ever again.
Hopefully. I mean, as long as someone from Brazil Twitter doesn't take over that national team. I feel like every 6 months
there's some guy on Twitter who has a huge agenda on Gabriel.
Seleção talks or something.
Yes,
I blocked him.
Yes, that guy.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like every 6 months he comes up with some CPU center back from the Brazilian league who's suddenly better than Gabriel. It's really funny. I mean, a lot of Brazilian fans don't rate him for some reason, which is crazy to me. I think Gabriel is a future streets won't forget kind of player, where, you know, whether or not we win anything, you know, in this era, right, with this current set of players, I think in 15 years time, people are going to be like, you know, Gabriel, you know, between 2021 and 2025 for Arsenal, just crazy player. So yeah, I do hope that's not the case. I do hope that we go on to win a bunch of trophies, all the trophies, and he gets his recognition. Excuse me. But I just think he is part of our identity, right? This physicality, this brute force athleticism that he has, this amazing commitment to defending, to bullying opposition forwards, to, you know, making us impenetrable. That's a big part of who we are as a team. And you know, again, for all the talk of how great Saliba is going to go on to be, and I'm sure that he will, Gabriel is the cornerstone of this defense. So, you know, I'm really happy to call him an Arsenal player, and I'm looking forward to see what he accomplishes from here.
Yeah, 100%. And also one thing I forgot to touch upon was his goal scoring exploits. Like, a center back can add value in many different ways. One is obviously the defending, which is the core job of a center back. One can be how good they are on the ball. And Gabriel, I think, has shown that he's really good on the ball. In fact, he's improved a lot those long balls that he plays from the left to Martinelli. I think even against Liverpool, the goal we scored came from him playing that long ball. But I think his box domination, not just in helping us defend set pieces better, but also in the opposition's box, is a huge reason why we are such a good set piece team today. I think he is the guy that actually changed things because in Arteta's first season, Arsenal conceded 16 goals from set plays. And the moment Gabriel came in, that number reduced to 6. And the last 2 seasons when he was here, that number was like 8, 7. This season again, it's 6. I think he's played a huge part in helping Arsenal just dominate the boxes, period. And he's also scored a lot of important goals for us. I think that's a really underrated aspect of any center back, to be honest, to add value in some of these areas. And Gabriel is certainly doing that. And I hope that he has strong performances going into the end of the season in the Champions League, and really shows the world how good he is. So fingers crossed for that.
Yep, absolutely. Phenomenal player. Really is I think the prototype for what a Mikel Arteta defender is. And if we win, the Champions League or the Premier League this season, or if we win it next season or the season after that, he's going to be a big part of it. So